Welcome to Financial Strategies with Andrew Agemy in Connecticut and Daniel Agemy in Colorado.
I am so stinking excited. This past summer, I got 2 of the items on my bucket list taken care of. I mean, my car bucket list, right? One was I always wanted a Mustang, like a 77 Mustang 2 Cobra 2. People say, oh, those are junk cars. Those were the worst Mustang ever. But this one's got a big, not a big engine, a huge engine in it. And it's a race car. And I met my new BFF is going to teach me how to drag race this sucker. And I can't wait for March or April to come when we can start the warm weather, boy, and start that drag racing scene. I'm Andrew Agemy.
And I'm Daniel Agemy, and you're listening to Financial Strategies. Today, we're talking about building your SUV retirement vehicle. And AAA, what does you and your drag racer have to do with retirement SUVs?
Well, it's the opposite, right? I mean, drag racers are for performance, whereas SUVs are for purpose. Right? Like Daniel, we had a 15-passenger van while you were growing up with your siblings. And it was a great vehicle for raising a family. It was suited our purpose beautifully. Going across country, put hundreds of thousands of miles on that diesel engine. It was great. Carry a ton of people, tow stuff, all kinds of things. Very purposeful. However, now that the kids are grown, I got a Challenger, I got this race car, I'm going for performance now because I got my purpose taken care of. And usually it's just the opposite for people when they're talking about their retirement because they're getting up the mountain of retirement in a 2-seater sports car for performance. And it's fun. And your wind's blowing through their hair and they're going through those peaks and those valleys and those curves and all those different things. And it's fun, right? Because they're young and they're excited and they're full of energy. But when they get to the top of that retirement mountain where it's snow cap covered and they look over the edge and it's a long way down, it's scary and everything is changing. Their paycheck is changing. Their friends are changing. Their schedule is changing. Do they really want a 2-seater race car, sports car, whatever you want to call it, or would they rather have an all-wheel drive SUV driven by a professional driver that's been there before? That's why we're talking about building your SUV retirement vehicle.
Yeah, something that can handle the turns, the up, the down, the snow, right? It's scary.
Everything.
We see it all the time. It's scary when you're in a pattern, you've been working, and you retire. And it's exciting, but then what do we do with my time? Everything, just like you said, changes. What do I do with my time? How do I get money out of my portfolio? I've been saving for so many years. How is it? I heard of this 4% withdrawal rule. The guy down the street says I should just be trading. Somebody else says you should use options. What do you do? How do you get the money you need, right?
Well, now you're talking about financial rubbernecking when you're talking about that, right? Financial rubbernecking, right? You're going down the highway, right? I'm going down 95 southbound, and all of a sudden, the cars it's clear as can be. The cars in front of me start putting on the brakes. I'm like, what is going on here? And I look over to the northbound lane, and there's an accident over there. And everybody in the southbound lane's got to stop, put on their brakes, and look and rubberneck and look over to the left to see what's going on, right? And the worst part about that is that they don't start up after the wreck is gone. They just don't hit the gas and take off again. They take forever, it seems, to get on. And don't even get me going. That reminds me of exit entrance ramps to highways and exit ramps. And don't even get me on that one. But anyway, my point is, how does that have to do with life, Andrew, right? Well, financial rubbernecking is what you just said, right? Where you're listening to this guy and that guy, and this gal, and that gal, and my best friend, and my father, and my brother-in-law, and my cousin, and all these other people who have it might work for them. That's fine. That doesn't mean it's going to work for you, right? One of my best friends is in the same industry, and the things that he doesn't work for me, and he can't do the things that I do within this industry. And it's all good, right? Because we're all different. If we were all the same, we'd all be driving the same car, dressing the same clothes, but we're all different. But the problem is when you do this financial rubberneck and when you're asking everybody and his brother about finances and you're not getting a straight scoop on anything. You got to be able to have a good view of where you're going. And here's another thing, right? I remember, Daniel, years ago, we had like these 4 gals working in our office. And one day I caught them talking to each other about how to get out of a stuck they had. They had this thing that they didn't know what to do, and they were trying to figure out how to get out. And they were asking each other. And when I found out what they were doing, I said, you're asking each other. None of you know the answer. You're asking the wrong people. It's 3 blind mice, right? Or none of them had the right answer. So they were rubbernecking with their question, right? And so you got to get the right tools and right help with that. And so, guys, in our listening audience, you're listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy, because people don't know what people don't know. You listen to us and you're going to get some information that you're probably not going to get elsewhere. Most financial companies, most financial radio shows are not going to be talking about what we're talking about, and with such energy, if I may ask, say. But anyway, with that, we have a paper that we'd love to put you in, where it's all about people don't know what people don't know, but we want you to know. We want you to know what you don't know, so that you can make good financial decisions, because so many people make decisions by indecision, by not making one, but that's still a decision. So we have a paper we'd love to put in your hand to be able to help you understand this stuff better. And it's called TR equals I plus G. You've heard us say, if you've heard our show before, you heard us say this. TR stands for total return equals I, income plus growth. Okay, growth and income equals your total return, right? The formula for more successful retirement. If you understand this formula, it's going to be able to help you to have clarity on what you should be doing with your retirement monies to make sure that you are able to retire and stay retired. And if you want to go back to work, you only go back to work because you want to, not because you have to. You have this paper for free. Ask for it by name. TR equals I plus G by calling us at 800-725-7616. 800-725-7616 for your free copy. You're listening to Financial Strategies with this father and son team coming at you. Today's topic is building your SUV retirement vehicle. And Daniel, before I turn it over to you, right, I just want to say, here's the idea. Vehicles, right? Normally you talk about motor vehicles, and there's license plates you put on the motor vehicle, and the license plate represents the registration, who owns it, and the rules for that. But then there you have the motor vehicle, and then when you're retiring, though, you have financial vehicles, stocks and bonds and annuities and other kinds of things, right? And these are all financial vehicles. So that's what we're talking about when we're talking about building your SUV retirement vehicle, getting the right vehicles that are going to be good in whatever weather for the all-purpose vehicle.
Yeah. So should we call it a show?
A wrap. Should we call it a wrap? No.
Yeah. AAA, understanding the retirement road. So when you're talking about rubbernecked, what it makes me think of is sometimes you got the GPS in, and the GPS doesn't know if you know the area of the roads, that even the GPS thinks that way is faster. At this time of day, there's going to be an accident, there's going to be traffic that it's not counting for, right? And you say, I know I go this way, I'll be able to do this. So knowing the road, understanding the retirement road, right? Somebody who's been there before. We see people get caught up. Right? You hear it, you see it. When everything's going good, when risk is my friend, you just put money in the market and it goes up. We're starting to hear more and more about that. You're closer to the end of the cycle than the beginning of the cycle, because markets know how to punish people. Whatever the most people think is going to happen usually is not what happens, because markets like to punish people. I don't know why they like to punish people, but they like to punish people. And if everyone has money in cash, that means it's probably going to go up, because then people are going to be punished by saying, I missed out on that. If everyone's in the market, it's probably going to be coming down, because markets like to punish people. So understanding the road, just like traffic likes to punish people, you know how to get around it. That's what you need to do. You need to work with somebody who's been there before and understand some of the myths, like the myth that markets consistently do 9 to 10% a year.
Right. That's crazy.
And the importance or the critical role that income plays in a portfolio. It's funny when we start using AI, right? And you have to think, all advisors, all money managers are using some kind of AI to some extent, right? Which means they're getting a similar answer. which means they're doing a similar thing, which means
Right.
it's social investing. If everyone's doing the same thing, everyone's
That's
getting the
right.
same outcomes, right? Do you want to do the exact same thing as everybody else? You talked about all the different types of cars and how we're different. Well, do you want your portfolio to be set up and be the same as everybody else's? Because you have different needs, you have different goals, and you want a different retirement. Most people want a different retirement than what the person next to them is doing, right? You have different hobbies,
Exactly.
you do different things. So you need to understand that road. And that gets back to what you were saying about you need to plan. What do you want that retirement to look like?
Right.
What does that road
Right.
look like? Going off of a 4% withdrawal rule? Are you going off of a hope strategy? I hope things continue to go the way that they have been.
Yeah.
Or do you have a little bit more deeper dive? Are you trusting in the AI to tell you how to build your portfolio? Because when we put these things in the AI, it keeps coming up with the same thing. It will talk about income and then it will say, but you got to sell assets to get the income you need. Or we'll talk about generating income and then it will say you could take a 4% withdrawal. Well, those things don't jive. How does it not know those jive? And if advisors are using that, or advisors are getting the information from these big companies like Vanguard, these marketing machines like Vanguard or BlackRock and State Street, then they're doing the same thing. Where does the independent thinking come from? The understanding the road.
Right. Right. And Daniel, that's what the independent thinking is huge from the GPS standpoint. Have you ever, if you're just blindly following the GPS, I can't tell you how many times it has done this. And I said, I'm smarter than the GPS, right? It tells you to get off the highway, go down the road, turn around, come back and get back on the highway. Right. And that's what some of these financial people are doing. That goes right along with the financial rubberneck, where you have to think, you have to make sure that you're doing the right things. And then the customization aspect, Daniel, is huge. And that's a big difference between the fast food financial companies that are out there, so to speak, versus the boutique financial companies. And those in our listening audience, I encourage you to listen to our show called Fast Food versus Boutique Restaurant. And that will give you an idea of what I'm talking about when I'm talking about that. And so anyway, let's take a break. I'm kind of wound up here. And listen, we've got a beautiful book for you guys that we're going to give you before we go to our break. And this is called More Life Than Money by our friend Anthony Saccaro. He is How Not to Outlive Your Savings. This is a great book. Anthony did a masterful job with this book. It should really be called What You Don't Know, the things that you don't know. And so you can have this book for free by calling us at 800-725-7616, 800-725-7616 for your free copy of More Life Than Money by Anthony Saccaro. You can have that for free for the first 5 first-time callers, 800-725-7616. We'll be right back after this.
The biggest mistake retirees make is not switching from the growth model to the income model. You know, a good retirement plan is having enough income to last the rest of your life. Any problem in retirement, it can be solved with income. The biggest concern that retirees have is running out of money. The second biggest concern is that they want to grow their money so that they don't run out of money. And they think it's synonymous when it's not necessarily the case. People don't know what they don't know. And they're not going to know unless somebody tells them. People think that the only thing that they can do to grow their money is by investing for growth in the stock market. And it's very much a herd mentality. But you can only get growth when the market goes up. When they invest for income, they're able to get money no matter what happens. I'm Andrew Agemy, founder and CEO of Agemy Financial Strategies. We've been helping people enjoy stress-free retirement for over 30 years.
You're locked on to Financial Strategy with Andrew and Daniel Agemy.
AAA, I bet you remember back in 2008, my brothers and I decided we wanted to do a crazy road trip. We wanted to go from the Atlantic, dip the tires in the Atlantic, drive across the country to the Pacific, right? And we needed a vehicle.
Yeah.
We needed a vehicle to get us across the country. It was January, and so we knew there was going to be snow, we're going to California. So we knew we were going to be surfing and we were going to be on the beaches out there, right?
Uh-huh.
And so we got a SUV. It was a Ford Explorer. It was perfect for what we needed. It had room in the back so we could sleep while other people were driving. It had amazing heat. So when we were driving through negative, I don't remember, 20-degree weather, the whole car was covered in snow, 20-degree weather, just being like, we hope we make it through here. We're driving through these plains. And then when we got to California, it was warm. It had a great AC, and you could throw the surfboards on the roof, and you could drive down I-5. And it was exactly what we needed to go through a 300-mile snowstorm, to go through the deserts, to go through the snow, right? And to give us the room that we needed, also the power to drive through the Rockies. I'm Daniel Agemy.
I'm Andrew Agemy. You're listening to Financial Strategies with Daniel and Andrew Agemy. This father-son team coming to you because people don't know what people don't know. And when you don't know something, what are you going to do? Well, one of the ways is listen to radio and podcasts. So we love to come to you today. And today's topic is building your SUV retirement vehicle. And the concept is an all-purpose, all-wheel drive or all-weather vehicle versus a race car, versus a dragster, versus a two-seater sports car with convertible, right? That kind of thing. When it comes to retirement, it's all good to get to retirement in those things, but when it comes to retirement, you have to switch from performance to purpose first. And then if there's room for performance after that, go for it. So that's a great story, Daniel. That reminds me, I remember that was a beautiful vehicle that lasted, got a lot of good use out of that vehicle. You made some money on that vehicle from both plowing snow with it, as well as the various things you went through with that. So that was an amazing thing. And when you have that kind of amazing retirement vehicle, retirement portfolio, it's amazing to take you all the way through the end of your life, right? To be able to stay home to die, as opposed to having to run out of money and go into convalescent home and die. And one of the biggest mistakes one of the biggest fears retirees have is running out of money before they ever run out of life. And one of the biggest mistakes they make is not switching from performance to purpose at the proper time. Unfortunately, many retirees find out about purpose after it's too late. By the time they switch to purpose, they end up running out of money. And it's a terrible thing to see. We've seen that from others, big name financial company out there that touts you got to have minimum $500,000 to go with them. And well, this guy came to us and said, they're kicking me out. My account value has fallen below $500,000. And so he came to us and we helped him. And we helped him survive a lot longer than he would have survived. But he was already in that descent, that death spiral with his portfolio, and he wasn't being able to do anything to pull out of it. And it was a terrible thing to see. But that's why we're talking to people today about building your SUV retirement vehicle.
Yeah. And so we're going to be talking about constructing your income generating retirement SUV, because retirement, right? The ideal retirement, you got more money, you got more income, you have more to spend than you need. Right.
Perfect.
And how do you get that? How do you get that income, right? I see all the time people are talking about taking growth strategies because we've had a booming market, right? Since 2009, it's just kind of, so now people want income. People understand the importance of income. Well, it just goes up and up. So they're taking these strategies and engineering income. They're taking NASDAQ funds and all these high growth, high risk types of investments and trying to create income off of those without understanding the risk behind that. They're using a tool it's not what it's made for.
Right. Well, Daniel, I just got to say, right? Like that when you retire, it doesn't matter if you have $1 million or $2 million or $5 million. What matters is what income that you're going to be getting from that. And so the critical role of income, if you don't have the income that you need to live the rest of your life, then it's not going to work. Now, engineering income, withdrawing 4% from a portfolio that's growing is not true income. That's a withdrawal. And when you withdraw money, you can run out of money. And that's the problem. That's what you're saying, Daniel, right? But people think, oh, the market always goes up. Well, it may go up over 150 years. It may go up over 40 years. But who out there in the listening audience is going to be in retirement for 40 years? Very few. Some will, but very few. Right. And the point is, though, when you're withdrawing money, when you're taking money out, it works differently than when you're not touching it or when you're putting money in. That's the key element that people don't know what they don't know. Well, you're listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy. And to help you understand what you don't know, we have a wonderful paper that's going to be up. It's called TR equals I plus G. Total return equals income plus growth. If you got more income that you need, then you can go for the growth. But if you're only going for growth, then you're not going to get income and you're going to have to withdraw money. So this paper is going to help educate you big time in helping you to know what you don't know so that you can be prepared for retirement. So I'd love to put this in your hand. Please call us 800-725-7616 for your free paper, TR equals I plus G, to help you start building your SUV retirement vehicle, your all-weather retirement vehicle. You're listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy. Today's topic is build your SUV retirement vehicle. Daniel, I'm just so excited about this thing, right? So we need to be able to create good regular income. The engineering income only works if the market's going up, but the market, unfortunately, goes three directions. It doesn't just go up. It goes down, it goes sideways. And that's problematic. That's where if you're investing for the I, not for the G, you don't have to worry about that.
So what are some steps somebody could take? What are some things people need to understand about constructing an income generating retirement SUV?
Well, we got to work with the chassis. And the chassis is using vehicles, investment vehicles that provides dividends and interest, right? Because see, people understand dividend paying stock, but if the S&P has dividend paying stock, but the average is between 1% and 3% dividends, that's typically not we're talking on $1 million. We're talking about $10,000 to $30,000 a year of dividends. That's not very much to live on for retirement.
That goes back to the SUV, right? We were talking about driving across the country. We needed a solid chassis so that we could climb over those mountains. We did some off-roading, and then later on we put a plow on it, or we did plowing. You got a unibody. If you don't have a chassis, you're not doing any of that, right?
Right, exactly.
That's the foundation. That's the strength. That's the robust. We talk about that robust portfolio. That chassis is what makes it robust, what makes it dependable.
Right. If you want your retirement to be stress-free, invest for the I more than the G. And that's what the chassis is built upon. I, income, dividend, interest paying vehicles that are going to be able to have that coming in no matter what, so that you can live, you can retire and stay retired. Okay?
What else do you need, AAA? What else do you need?
Well, there's a whole universe of options. People don't understand what those are. And those are bond-like instruments. And I had a guy the other day said, oh, bonds don't pay anything. I said, really? We've got clients that have averaged in the vicinity of 10% per year over the past 10 years. I mean, that seems pretty good to me at less than half the risk of the stock market. Oh, how do you do that? Well, that's because we do that every day. We know how to do that. We specialize in that. That's why we're specialists. We're not generalists in the market. So the stock market is different than the fixed income market. We're talking about the fixed income, interest-bearing, insurance-based market. All these things, there's 8 or 9 different things that can provide you interest and dividends to make sure that you have what you need to be able to last the rest of your life. All right?
Exactly. That's the chassis. So what else do we have on this retirement SUV, AAA?
An engine. We need an engine. And so we got to balance, growth. We got to balance growth or inflation. We need some growth. We don't want just regular growth, right? Daniel, you're always talking about the S&P 500 is just staying up it's just exchanging dollars. It's not, you're not making anything, you're exchanging. Yeah, you had 100,000 turn into 200,000, but guess what? Your house just did double in value over that same period of time, right? So it's not like you're making money. You need something that's going to make you money. And what kinds of things make people money, Daniel, like that?
Well, you've got different inflation hedges, right? We call them monetary hedges, right?
Right.
And these are things that give you leverage. So if inflation's 1 unit, these could do 1 to 5 units, right? So typically gold is 1 unit. If inflation does 1 unit, gold does 1 unit, right? S&P is basically the exact same amount of money that they print. If you look at the money supply, if you look at what the Federal Reserve is producing, it's basically you can lay it over an S&P chart and it looks like the same chart. Right? So we want 2 units or 3 units or 4 units of that. Right. And so what we like using monetary hedges. Bitcoin is one of those things in there that we like.
Right.
And we're not talking put all your money in Bitcoin. That would be crazy.
No.
It's position sizing properly. Right. And if you had 3% position size in that, which is not worst case,
That's
you lose it all. You lose
3%.
it all. It goes to zero. We're the dumbest people in the world. It goes to zero. You got 6-7% dividends. That's half a year of dividends, and the next year you're fine. That's pretty cheap insurance. But if it does what it has done just in the last 2 years, that 3% is 15% now of your portfolio. That's what we call an asymmetrical return. That's getting 2 or 3. That's getting 5 units, 6 units for those inflation units.
Right. And I just want to say to you and the listening audience, typically this kind of stuff that Daniel and I are talking about, most people have to have multiple millions, like 10 millions, tens and tens of millions of dollars to get this kind of the help, customized boutique help through hedge funds and family offices and different things like that, that we're making it available to people on a lesser level. Now, with that, if you're talking less than $300,000, we're not going to be able to do this stuff for you, right? But that's the idea. Well, you're listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy. Today's topic is building your SUV retirement vehicle. And we're going to have to take a break here. We have a book that we'd love to give you. Our friend Anthony Saccaro wrote More Life Than Money, How to Not Outlive Your Life Savings. What you don't know about a lot of different pieces about life. And that's what we're talking about, is that people don't know what they don't know. Well, this book is going to educate you on many things that you don't know about retirement. Love to put it in your hand. Call us for free. Call us at 800-725-7616. Get your free copy. The next 5 first-time callers, 800-725-7616. Call now. We'll be right back.
Important financial question. Are you feeling confident that you have enough money saved to enjoy a stress-free retirement?
Honestly, I'm not sure.
That's where Retirement Income Sources investment advisory arm comes in. We exist to help you invest your money smartly.
I'm struggling to accept my retirement without a steady paycheck. So can you help me invest into a profitable revenue plan?
Absolutely. We have top advisors nationwide who have a fiduciary obligation to you, helping you generate retirement income.
This is Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy.
So I had a Challenger that I totaled, and I needed a new vehicle, and didn't know what to get, and didn't want to get another Challenger at the time, a Dodge Challenger. And so I thought, hey, the Broncos are coming out. I'm going to order a Bronco. So I ordered a Ford Bronco. It took me a year and a half to get that Ford Bronco. But this Ford Bronco had a 4-cylinder engine, standard transmission with a turbocharger. And so it turned out 300 horsepower. So it was great. It was a 4-cylinder, being somewhat easy on gas from that standpoint. But then when it needed power, it had the power because it had that turbocharger. And the key is that the idea is it had the power that it needed to go on the highway or to go ups and downs, those peaks and valleys, through the woods and all those other things. I'm Andrew Agemy.
And I'm Daniel Agemy, and you're listening to Financial Strategies. Today we're talking about building your SUV retirement vehicle. And AAA, you got to have a chassis that can support the engine, but you got to have a powerful engine.
Right.
So you can make it up. You can make it up the retirement mountain. You can make it through the valleys. When you're climbing the Rockies, you got to climb up, and then you come down a little. You come up and you climb down. And I've seen lots of SUVs that barely could make it up the mountain. They didn't have enough power.
Right.
In your Bronco, you had that turbo, which made a big difference.
Right.
When we did that cross-country road trip, we had a big old V8 in that thing. It ripped right through the mountains.
Right.
And what we're talking about here with these supercharged vehicles, right? So
Right.
you can have just a big, powerful V8, and that's
Right.
things like the business development companies, right? This is going to help
Right.
you keep up with inflation. You could have
Right.
the gold in there, but then you throw the supercharger on that V8.
Right.
You start getting things like the Bitcoin we were just talking about, the royalty and streaming companies, where you're getting maybe five units for every 1 unit of inflation.
Right. Right. Daniel, this is really interesting, right? Because the Dodge Challenger with the V8 in it with by itself can turn out like 500 horsepower. And then you put that supercharger on it and it's pushing 800 horsepower, right? Just with the supercharger, right? It's a nasty demon, right? At that point, from that standpoint, you put that supercharger on it. And when we're able to put a supercharger on people's retirement portfolios, then it really has all the power it needs and then some. You don't have to use all the power if you don't need it. You don't have to use all the dividends and interest if you don't need it, right? That's fine. But then you reinvest it, and guess what it does? It adds more. And so it's really a cool thing from that standpoint, right? Which brings us to, in order to pump that out, you got to have a good fuel system, right? You have to have good fuel pumps. You have to have good fuel in the vehicle. You can't run in a race car. You can't run junky gas, right? You have to have good gas, right? But, an all-weather SUV vehicles is going to be okay with all of that. And the key is the cash generation through dividends and interest, that no matter what, it keeps flowing. You need it, take it. You don't need it, reinvest it. Need it, take it. Keeps flowing, right? Steady, right?
It gives you that confidence. My friend was driving through the mountains the other day, and he's got a electric Mercedes, and it was snowing, and he was stuck in traffic, and he's driving up the mountains. He's terrified. He calls me up. He's terrified. He's going to run out of battery before he gets to somewhere he could charge.
Right.
And so like all these things fit together because you're talking about that big, powerful engine in the Challenger.
Right.
Right. But you can have too much power if you don't have the right chassis. So
Right. It tear it apart.
motors only work if you have that base, that structure, that chassis.
Right.
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 Otherwise, you'll rip the car apart.
Right.
Or you'll just spin out because you don't have the traction. You just spin out right into the guardrail, and you're not going anywhere. So a lot of times people just do the engine and they don't do the chassis.
Right.
Or they get the fuel system, but it's too powerful for the engine and they still can't make it up. Or it's not powerful enough and the engine can't get enough. It can't suck in enough and it can't make it up, right? So it's mixing these things together.
Exactly. Then the suspension comes into play, right? To make sure that you've got that if you're going over bumps and whatever, that you're able to absorb the bumps. You've got flexibility there. It's going to keep you from rolling over if you have the right suspension system. There's a lot of different keys. It can lock, give you traction control if you have the right suspension system as part of that whole thing, right? And so keep you on track so that you don't accidentally fall off, right? And that's the key, is to make almost like having guardrails, and the guardrails keep you on that mountain of retirement. And that's kind of where we come into play for our clients, is being kind of like the guardrails. So
understanding kind of how those fixed income vehicles work, right?
That's the key.
Where you balance the bonds with the suspension to the preferreds, to the BDCs, to the superchargers or turbos we're talking about, right? And mix those together. But it's kind of that base, those bonds where you, not only are they paying you got that cash coming in like that fuel system, but then they come due. So you can manage, I'm going to have X money here. It gives you that flexibility and stability. So when unforeseen things happen, you can just balance out and benefit from it. Not only be okay, but benefit from it.
Right. That's the key, benefiting from it, not just be okay. That's what we want for people. That's why you're listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy, because people don't know what people don't know. We want you to be able to be balanced out in whatever situation that you're in when it comes to your retirement. And we have a paper we'd love to put in your hand to be able to help you understand how to do exactly that. And this paper is called Why Investing in Mutual Funds Could Jeopardize Your Retirement Plans. We're going to talk about that just in a moment here. And with that, this paper is free of charge, and we love to put it in your hand because a lot of people think mutual funds are the greatest thing since sliced bread when it comes to saving for retirement. Well, they're an investment vehicle you certainly can use, but are they the absolute best? Well, that's get this paper and see for yourself. But they could jeopardize your retirement plans once you're in retirement. 800-725-7616 for your free copy. You listen to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy. Today's topic is building your SUV retirement vehicle. Because if you have the right retirement vehicle, the right portfolio in place, it's going to take you through retirement and be able to take you all the way through, and so that you don't outlive your money. Daniel, we talked about constructing the vehicle with the chassis, the engine, fuel system, the suspension. Now, let's talk about avoiding some of the common retirement vehicle mistakes, right? So many times people make mistakes when it comes to the retirement vehicle. And I just mentioned it a moment ago that people think getting up the mountain in mutual funds in their 401ks and so forth, that two-seater sports car, is the exact way it should be when you're going across that snow-capped covered mountain. But is that truth or is that fallacy?
Sounds scary to me. Taking the wrong type of vehicle across that slick mountain, across the Rockies.
Right. So the key is to people have an over-reliance on high-performance vehicles and investments, right? Daniel, over high-performance investments, financial vehicles. Because so many times people talk about the S&P and how you can't, right? Daniel, you hear people say, hey, you can't lose on the S&P. Not true, right? Tell us about it.
Well, typically, the S&P goes through cycles. I know a lot of people would just like to look at a chart of the S&P and they just go, look, it's straight up and to the right. And it looks like that. But that's over these long periods of time. And when you zoom in a little bit closer, you can see that there is 15 to 20 years of a bull market, and there's 15 to 20 years of down and sideways.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a big deal if you're in retirement. And if we look at secrets of returns, which is basically just when your returns are coming in, right? When the returns come in, if you retire right before you go into one of those 15 to 20 years of down to sideways, that can devastate your portfolio. You just don't know when it's going to be. If you retire right before the 15 to 20 years of up, that's great. The difficulty is you don't know exactly when that's going to start and when that's going to end. But if your first 2, 3, 4 years of retirement are in that down period, you could use up an extraordinary amount of money.
Right.
And maybe not be able to recover from it at the end because you're drawing money. When you draw money and things are going down, you have to sell more units, more shares to get the same dollars, and more shares to get the same dollars, and more shares to get the same dollars. So then when it comes back, you don't have as many shares and you don't come back to where you used to be.
Right. And so investing in index funds, so everybody knows that index funds are great, right? and so why might that not be ideal for retirees?
Well, you're not collecting income off of index funds typically. The other thing is index funds tend to be what everyone puts their money in. And what's happened with index funds is they used to be a way to piggyback on market research. They used to be a way to piggyback on the investors doing the due diligence and saying, these are good companies and these ones we want to stay for. These are valuable and these are not. Now the index funds are pushing the markets around. It's like the tail wagging the dog. And that's why, especially at this point in the market where we're closer to the end of that cycle than the beginning, you need to be very careful with those index funds if you're in retirement.
Right. And like you said at the beginning, there's no dividends, there's no income, there's no cash generation going on with those a lot of times. If it is, it's very minimal at best. And that's a pitfall. Not having that generation is pitfall because then people get fully invested in the stock market, in the index funds and mutual funds. And then when the market falls, they have no alternative. Now, if they're still working, they're putting money in so they can buy more shares lower, but that doesn't help the money that has fallen from $500,000 to $300,000 or whatever case may be. But if they have that cash generation, that income generation going on, they're able to buy more shares at a lower price.
Right.
And
a lot of people with $1 million portfolio will say, I just index, and what I do is I keep $200,000 of cash. So that way, if there is market volatility, I know there's market volatility, and I know markets are going to come down at some point, but I don't have to deal with it. So I'll keep 200 of cash, and that way I won't have to sell at losses. And that sounds great. It sounds like a great strategy, and it works for some people. But then if markets average 9% a year, and you have $200,000 of cash, then what are you actually making? And with what is going on with rates right now, you could get 6-7% just collecting in dividends and not have to worry about taking those 40-50% drawdowns, those stomach wrenching drawdowns. You could just sit back and collect the dividends. You're actually ahead with the dividends than having the pile of cash.
Yeah. Going across that retirement mountain in a all-wheel drive SUV driven by a professional driver can take a lot of stress out of somebody's life. You listen to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy. Today's topic is building your SUV retirement vehicle. It's time for us to take another break, and before we go, we want to give you the opportunity to get the free book by our friend Anthony Saccaro, More Life Than Money, and what you don't know that you don't know about retirement. And we'd love to put this in your hand for free. The next 5 first-time callers at 800-725-7616, 800-725-7616. Call now for your free copy.
You're locked on to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy.
I am an individual. I like things done my way, and I like to make things my way. Ever since I've been dealing with cars, I would always make them my own by customizing it to do whatever I wanted to do, right? And I got even when we had the 15-passenger van, I customized it for me. I bought an RV that I ordered custom for me. I bought a Ranger customized for me, and then we built different things. And Daniel, you may remember that we went to a car show once, and we had a big banner, and it showed me with my customized Mustang and me with my customized Ranger, and the title was "We Build Customized Retirement Portfolios." I'm Andrew Agemy.
And I'm Daniel Agemy, and you're listening to Financial Strategies. Today we're talking about building your SUV retirement vehicle. And AAA, the reason we're saying building it is because this type of all-weather vehicle, this type of SUV, is not the kind you can go and you can buy off the lot.
Off the shelf, right.
When we were talking about the chassis, we're talking about this robust chassis that you could plow with, and it's stable, and the suspension can handle anything. And it has an engine, but it's not like a RAV4 engine. We're talking about like this big engine, like from your race car or like from the Challenger, right? These kinds of things, the Charger, the Supercharger, right? These types of things. And so we're talking about a custom retirement vehicle here.
Right. Exactly. And that's the key. And when you want a good hamburger, do you go to McDonald's? No. McDonald's doesn't have the best hamburger. When you want a good burger, you go get a custom one from a boutique burger joint, right? And that's the key here, is making sure you've got somebody that's going to design something. Whether you come to us or you come to somebody else, I don't care. The key is making sure I'm trying to give you the education that you need in our listening audience to be able to understand what to look for. And some of those things, big thing to look for when you're looking for that place that can customize it to you is, number one, that they're having custodian accounts that are segregating your money to protect your money from that standpoint, that you're having a true fiduciary, somebody that's true, that's working in your best interest, not the stockholder's best interest of a big name company, right? This is some of the foundation of choosing the mechanic, so to speak, that's going to help you be able to build that portfolio. And when we're talking about mechanics, I mean, would you ever pay somebody to find a mechanic to work on your car? No. Well, that's what a lot of these professional financial organizations out there are doing. That's what you're doing when you hire one. You're paying them to find somebody to manage your money. They're not managing your money. You might think they're managing your money, but they're not managing your money. And they're getting the lion's share of your money for bringing you to somebody that's going to manage your money. Then they hand it off to somebody that's going to manage your money, not somebody who's actually managing your money, looking for the deals day in, day out to customize it for you to make you happy. And that is really key. Make sure you're getting somebody that's making you happy, that gets paid by making you happy, because when you're happy, you're going to introduce them to other people that is going to help them to grow their company. Because most people out there today still need to be able to bring on new clients to be able to help them to be able to get to where they're trying to be. But the key is somebody going to help you get where you want to be and everything be taken care of, or are they just looking to make a sale? And that's the difference between a suitability standard, right, which a lot of people go by, versus the fiduciary standard, that somebody has to do what's in your best interest.
Yeah, and when you're talking about that team, when you're talking about that customized portfolio, AAA, you need somebody who knows how to navigate different conditions, right? Different types of market conditions. And sometimes you see those videos, right, where somebody gets this big, powerful car and they go sideways. And it's crazy because sometimes you see them hit a curb and then bounce on top of somebody. Sometimes they just whack into somebody. They just hit the sideways. Yeah, people. Sometimes they hit the side wheel and it just blows the car apart. Sometimes they slide into other cars. So if you need somebody who, number one, knows how not to make that thing go sideways for you. But two, if you've gone sideways, right? If your professional person doesn't know what they're doing and your portfolio is already sideways, it's not pushing the income you need to, it's not as robust as you need to. You need a professional who can help you pull that out of the sideways, out of the fishtail, out of the spin, and get it going straight again, right?
Yeah. Daniel, I read something the other day that said, how much does it cost for a do-it-yourselfer to build a high-performance engine? The answer was a ton of money.
That's pretty amazing, because the amount of money that we spend for research a year to know how to build these custom portfolios would be a lot of people's entire portfolio. Right. Or somebody's paycheck even. Some people in our listening audience that make less than what we pay for research, right? And that's the key. Like a lot of people, when they've been doing it themselves and going up the mountain themselves their whole life, and that's fine, right? The mountain over their time. But when you get to retirement, you still want to do it. So many times, one of our newest clients came in, he's been doing a great job, right? But he's feeling his mortality. He's like 77, 78 years old. He's feeling his mortality. He's in good health, but he never knows when he's going to be done in his life. His wife's not going to be able to handle this situation. So he's looking for help. He became a client of ours so that he can kind of put his stamp of approval on us. And I'm not, folks in the listening audience, this is not a sale pitch. I'm just telling you what to look for when you're going and things you need to be looking for. If you're a do-it-yourselfer, are you always going to be able to do it yourself, or do you have a spouse that's going to need some help should you predecease them? Right? You're listening to Financial Strategist. I'm Andrew and Daniel Agemy. Today's topic is building your SUV retirement vehicle. This father-son's team's coming to you because people don't know what they don't know. We spend much money per year trying to educate people so that they can make smart decisions. We educate thousands of people a year between our 6 radio stations and our podcasts and our workshops and all the different things that we do to educate people, sending books out to people. But we only take on a few dozen clients. So
from that, the key is to learn so that you can make smart decisions. We can't help everybody. We want to help you be able to make the decisions so that you can get to the right people to be able to help you. And today we have this paper that we love to give you to be able to help you understand more, which is why investing in mutual funds could jeopardize your retirement portfolios. Mutual funds are not the greatest things in sliced bread. And as a result of that, it could actually kill your performance, kill your retirement plan. You run out of money. By the time you realize it, it's too late to do anything about it. So we want you to educate yourself now so that you can make those decisions now rather than later. So you can have that paper for free. Why mutual funds might ruin your retirement portfolio. 800-725-7616. Today's topic, building your SUV retirement vehicle. Daniel, as we're finished up here, what do we need to be telling people that we haven't already told them?
Well, I think people need to focus on the cash generation, right? What is your retirement currently creating? What types of income streams do you have besides your retirement savings? Because I think putting your retirement on hold because markets aren't cooperating with you, or because the government's not cooperating with you, or because things aren't going on your way is atrocious. Right. And you need that cash creation, that incomes, the chickens and the eggs, right? The chickens producing the eggs, you need those to support the lifestyle that you want to have. And that, I think, is the most important thing, right? In retirement, there's a lot of important things. I shouldn't say it's the most important thing, but really to give you the freedom and the confidence that you need in retirement, you need that cash. You need that cash coming in so you can keep the lifestyle. There's too many people that are worried about running out of money. They're not living the lifestyle that they want to have because they're stuck in this mindset of lack, and I don't want to run out, and I don't know what markets are going to do. So the whole purpose of this customized retirement SUV is so that you can have the confidence that you have what you need to have the lifestyle that you want in retirement, and you're not dependent upon the market gods, right?
Right.
To get you there.
Right. Cool. Daniel, I'm thinking I want to close this show today a little bit different. So I'm going to offer the book now, and then I'm going to close with a little analogy, right? And that hopefully will bring things home for people when we're talking about this stuff. So you've been listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy, this father-son team coming to you to be able to help you understand what you don't know, so that you can make smart decisions, because an educated retiree is a happy and stress-free retiree. We'd like to educate you. I'd love to give you this book by our friend Anthony Saccaro, More Life Than Money. Can hear yours for free by calling us at 800-725-7616. First-time callers, 800-725-7616 for your free copy. Anthony's done a masterful job of writing this book to helping you to know what you don't know. And it's a simple, easy read. And we'd love to put this in your hand. I highly recommend it. So call now, 800-725-7616 for your free copy. Well, the analogy I like to leave you folks today with is this. Okay, so you want to get a new car, and you go out shopping for a new car, and you go into the dealership, and you go into, and then you say to the salesperson, "Hey, I want a car that's safe, good in the snow, and carries a lot of luggage." And then let's say it's a male, he or she says, "Hey, all right, fine, stay right here, I'll be right back." Comes back with a 2-seater sports car. And you say, "Are you not listening to me? I said, I want it safe. I want it good in the snow. I want it to carry a lot of luggage." Oh, I'll be right back. And so he comes back with another 2-seater sports car, right? Well, the key is you say, "This is not safe. This is not good in the snow. This is not, doesn't carry a lot of luggage." And he says to you, "Well, on contraire, it is safe. You see, it has roll bars. And the roll bars make this the safest sports car on the road. But they come at an extra cost." And then you say, "Yeah, but it's not good in the snow." "Oh, on contrary," he says, "it is good in the snow. You see, it comes with an extra set of tires. And these tires make it the best sports car in the snow. But it doesn't carry a lot of luggage." "Oh, on contrary, it does carry a lot of luggage. You see, it has a trailer hitch And so you can take a trailer, you can carry as much luggage as you want, and it comes at an extra cost. Well, at the end of the day, do you really have an all-wheel drive SUV retirement vehicle or all-wheel drive that's good in the snow, carries a lot of luggage, and safe? Or do you have one that's been jury-rigged to be able to be that way? And that's what a lot of the professional financial people do for their people. And one of the things that they do is they put them in annuities. And if you have an annuity, we really need to talk, because the Federal Reserve has given a gift to people with annuities, so to speak, right now. That's how we call it. And they made things available that if you get a second opinion on your annuity, you may find that you can actually make more money and get more income than what your current plan has for you, because currently you may just have a two-seater sports car that's been jury-rigged to be an all-wheel drive SUV. And when you're talking about the retirement mountain, do you really want to go across it in a two-seater sports car, or would you rather have an all-wheel drive SUV driven by a professional driver that's been there before? Until next time, Financial Strategies, Andrew and Daniel Agemy, where a educated retiree is a happy and stress-free retiree. If you want your retirement to be stress-free, invest for the I more than the G.